This is Starry Ari's ASMR. I am Ari, and today you can see that I have some game cases here from a couple of different consoles. You can see these ones here for Nintendo Switch. I have a few from the Xbox 360, and then these ones are for the Xbox One. So I wanted to go through and maybe do a little bit of a show and tell. These are not all of the games that we have. My husband and I both like gaming. We primarily are console gamers. But these are games that I have played and wanted to show you. We also own some digital games for the Xbox One. I don't particularly like owning digital games. I like having something physical, but we do have some of those. We also, a couple of years ago, received a gift to try out Xbox's Gamepass, which is a subscription service that gives you access to a library of games. So I also won't really be talking too much about the games that I've played there. I might touch on it a little bit at the end, but let me know if you would like a full dedicated video to those games. I could maybe write them out on note cards or something like that and kind of talk through, because I have had some of my favorite games over the last couple of years. I played them on Gamepass. But today, I just want to show you some of these and maybe tap on them a little bit. Try and make some tingly sounds and just tell you about them. So I'm going to move some of these out of the way. So I have 4 games here for Nintendo Switch. We have also gotten a couple of digital games on Nintendo Switch, but these are the 4 physical ones that I've played. My favorite of these has been Animal Crossing. This is Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is such a satisfying, cute, little cozy game, and a little nostalgic for those of us that maybe played Animal Crossing, like the originals. I also got the DLC. I'm completely blanking on what it's called, but it's the one where you're kind of like designing houses for different characters, and I really enjoy that one. Next one is this Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. So this one has a bunch of different types of games. If it'll focus. I'm not sure if it's going to focus. I think it's trying to read everything else, but... So this one has a ton of different types of games. You can see that it has chess, it has solitaire, Mancala, Connect 4, lots of just different types, and this is something that was fun. I think that we got this when we first got the Switch as just kind of regular games that my husband and I could play together. This one here is Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, and this was a pre-owned game, so we don't have the nice cover like these other ones do. This is just a generic case. This one is really fun for just kind of that, like, satisfying puzzle solving and just the classic graphics and animation. It's really cute and fun to play. Kind of some sounds with the plastic. And then this last one here is Just Dance 2022. I played Just Dance on the Wii with one of my close friends growing up. Her family had the game, and so we would play it a lot. And when we got the Switch, my husband and I thought it would be really fun trying it out, and it is an amazing workout. Oh my gosh. Some of these dances have you going crazy. So we have played this one, but it's a little tricky with our living room setup. We kind of have to like move things out of the way, and it just kind of isn't as convenient to play as some of our other games. But it's always fun, and I love dancing. This one definitely has a lot of songs and dances to choose from. So these are our Switch games. The one that I play the most is definitely Animal Crossing, although I really haven't played it in a while. But when we travel or, go on long flights, we definitely always bring the Switch with us. And we have a little carrying case for all of the game cards so that we don't have to lug around the big cases. So this stack are all games from the same series. You can see this is Assassin's Creed. And we also own quite a few digital Assassin's Creed games. So some of these were kind of missing a few in between. It's because we own them on digital. But these are the physical ones that we have. I think we also have Mirage on the physical disc, but I haven't played it yet. But these are some of my favorite games. I think that the Assassin's Creed games are really beautiful storytelling a lot of the time, and really interesting stories. I think it's really great to be able to kind of go at a game with this perspective. You're learning a bit about history. Some of it is maybe not confirmed history or just falsified for the games, but it's still really interesting, and the Assassin's Creed creators do a wonderful job of really researching and diving into the setting of each game. So this is the first one, and this was for Xbox 360. We don't have a 360 anymore, we just have our Xbox One. But some of these games are backwards compatible, which means that we could still play them on Xbox One. I don't recall which ones are. If I ever wanted to play something, I would have to look it up and make sure that it's backwards compatible first. But we also did get rid of some of our games for that reason, that they weren't backwards compatible at the time, and then we kept some that we just couldn't get rid of even though they weren't backwards compatible. But I'm not sure about this one. But this is the first game, and it definitely made me fall in love with the series, and right now I'm playing through the entire series. The last few years I've been kind of playing through by release date. So I started with this one, a few years ago, and just really fell in love with it. So this is the main character here. I believe his name is Altair. And then I actually have these kind of in backwards order. Maybe I'll fix that real quick. So this next one here is the Ezio collection, also known as the Ezio trilogy. These are probably some of my favorite games from the entire series. I think that the character of Ezio was really fleshed out very nicely. You really feel his kind of plight throughout each game. You get really connected to him, and the music, I mean, come on, the music is just absolutely beautiful. The soundtrack that they created for this, I think that I'm forgetting what the actual kind of like the main song that they use is called, but I think it's like Ezio's theme or Ezio's family or something like that, and they actually reuse it throughout the series. So in later games that don't involve Ezio, it's just such a beautiful and iconic soundtrack that it's now kind of become the Assassin's Creed soundtrack. So these are definitely some of my favorites from the series that I've played. I also take my time with these games because I've mentioned before, I like to 100% games. So I really like to take my time, complete the storylines, all of the side quests, get all of the collectibles, and do all of the Xbox achievements for a game before I move on. Some of these I haven't quite done that, either because I just wasn't feeling the game as much, or I really wanted to play the next one. But most of these I have 100%ed. So this one here is Assassin's Creed 3. So this one included the DLC and Assassin's Creed Liberation. And this one here, you are playing during the American Revolution as a Native American character. which is really interesting, and I think that it was pretty fun running around kind of these like iconic, classic American like landscapes and landmarks. You're running around Valley Forge at some points, and it's just kind of, it's really fun in that way. This one here is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. This is another one of my favorites. I would say right now it's probably up at the top for my favorite. It's so hard. I love the Ezio trilogy. So it's really hard for anything to beat it because I was so attached to Ezio, the character. But Black Flag, I thought was so fun to play. I personally loved the addition of the ships. I know some people didn't, but I really did. And the diving, you can dive into the water and get collectibles, and there are some missions where you're having to dive into the water. And overall, I think that this one was just a really fun to play game. There were some interesting mechanics that were added, and overall I just had a really fun time playing this one. And this one here is Assassin's Creed Unity. You can see this was another pre-owned game that we got from Gamepass, so it doesn't have the nice cover image. So it's just kind of in this blank case here. But this is the one that I left off on. I think that I'm only partway through this one. I honestly haven't played this one in probably 6 months, just because I was kind of wanting to dive into more just simple, cozy games because my work was getting really stressful and just really busy. And so when I had time off to play, I just kind of wanted to do something that I could sit down and just play much more casually. So this one I'll probably dive into again at some point in the future, just because I know that there are some really amazing games later on. Like one of my husband's favorite games from the series was Mirage. I think that he really liked Mirage. So I know that I have other fun games ahead of this one, but I feel like I've come so far in playing all of the games in release order that I just want to keep trucking along with that. And I have so many other games that I'm playing too, but we'll see when I can get back to this one. So this is another collection of games that are very similar. These are all Lego games. So this one here is the Lego Marvel collection. So it includes the 3 different Marvel games. This one is the Harry Potter collection. This one here is the Lego Star Wars. This is like a classic Lego game. And then this last one here is Lego Indiana Jones. So I have played all of these games. The only one that I have not completed yet haven't completed the Marvel ones because there's so much to do in here. I think that I've completed the main storylines. I just haven't 100%ed the game. And then this one, my husband and I had started to play it together. We really love games that we can play together, and it's always fun having just simple games like this. But we didn't really like the multiplayer dual screen that they had, or the screen setup was just kind of, it was like making me motion sick. So I think that this one will probably have to be one that I play on my own. So I haven't really gotten into this one yet. My favorite of all of the Lego games, for sure, is Star Wars. This one is such a classic, and the Lego games are just really simple to play. They're not very complicated, and especially if you know the storyline already, it's just like, it's fun to play through. And they're family friendly, so like if you have young kids, like these are great games that you can play with them. But we got Lego Star Wars when I was growing up. We got Lego Star Wars one year for Christmas. And so I have really fond, nostalgic memories of playing it with my brothers. Which is always funny. I think my husband and I have very different play styles. I am somebody that likes to, as I mentioned, I like completing everything. Whereas he's somebody that doesn't need to do that, and he just kind of wants to like run ahead and finish the level and finish the storyline. Sometimes he'll get collectibles and stuff like that, but whenever we've played the Lego games, it's usually like another playthrough for me because I've already gone through and done everything. So this one is just such a classic, really fun, and quite simple to just kind of jump right into. And I'd say very accessible for people that maybe haven't played video games before. I think that the mechanics are pretty easy to figure out. And I mean, who doesn't love Star Wars, right? I did enjoy the Indiana Jones one. I thought that some of the puzzles for getting the collectibles were pretty interesting. But I'm much more attached to the Star Wars, like the original, like the Star Wars series, than I am to the Indiana Jones movies. I mean, I watched these growing up, but my dad is a huge Star Wars fan, so Star Wars was pretty big in my household. So this stack is kind of just miscellaneous games. Some of them are from larger series that we just don't have the other games for anymore. So I thought I would just go through these one by one. And the first one is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This is I think, most recent Borderlands game that came out. Tiny Tina is a character in Borderlands, and this is kind of, you're playing in a fantasy world somewhat that she created. So so it was a little bit different from the other Borderlands games, but my husband and I did the playthrough of this together, and we really enjoyed it. We had a really good time. But Borderlands, I originally started playing the game when I was in college. Our roommate had the first Borderlands and an Xbox 360, and so I tried playing it after watching him play it for a little bit, and we'll just set that off to the side because the next one, I'll still talk about Borderlands, but this next one is Borderlands 3, and this was pre-owned again, so you can see that we don't have the nice cover, but I fell in love with the Borderlands playstyle, and I have played every game that they've come out with, every DLC, and Borderlands is definitely maybe behind Assassin's Creed in the number of play hours that I've put into in a series, but I mean, one of my favorite series. Every game for my first playthrough, if there is a siren character option, I will always select that one for my first playthrough. Usually I think most of the games I've done like a second playthrough with my husband, if we're just kind of feeling like we want to play something together, and usually for those I might change and do a different type of character, but the sirens definitely hold a special place in my heart. So this is Borderlands 3. And we originally had Borderlands 1, 2, and the Borderlands pre-sequel game. But some of those we only had for the 360, and some of them were our roommate's games. And so when we moved out, we decided to just kind of give him the ones that we had because he had the other ones. And then when we got our Xbox One, that's kind of when we started getting these other games. But I really, really enjoy Borderlands. I think that the mechanics are also really smooth a lot of the time. There are some games that I think people like to play because it's challenging to aim your gun properly and shoot what you're trying to shoot, and it's like part of the fun is getting better at that. I think Borderlands has a really wonderful like auto aiming system a lot of the time, and really interesting guns. So this one, I really enjoyed the Borderlands series, and I think their replayability is really high for me. I think I could always replay a Borderlands game. This next one is really fun. This is the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, and this includes the 3 Spyro games, the original 3 games. We had Spyro for the PlayStation 2 when I was growing up, and as a kid, this was one of my favorite games. I think that these games probably sparked the desire in me to 100% things because there were collectibles and gems that you could get. And when they came out with the Reignited Trilogy, I was so excited. And I was so happy to get this game and play it through. And I had a really phenomenal time. It was just so nostalgic and a really fun, cute, another kind of family-friendly game. But I think I flew through this game. This next one is The Outer Worlds. This was a really fun kind of exploration game. And we also have we have a DLC for this one. I don't really remember. I don't think that I've completed that one. I know that my husband did. But I really enjoyed this game. The music is just so amazing. They did such a good job with the soundtrack and really putting you in the world, or the worlds that they create. They did such a good job. And the title screen music it's one of those where I could pop the game into the Xbox and have the title screen music just playing in the background like all day. I don't do that, but I could, it's just that good. So this one was really fun. And I just love these kind of like exploration games, and especially this one, you're like in space and you're exploring around and you have, spaceship and just really fun. And I really like the animation style for this game. I thought that the worlds were just really pretty. I also started to play Starfield on Gamepass, which is, quite a bit of a different game, but it's really similar in that you are exploring around the universe really, and it's very open world. So many quests to do. I haven't quite completed that game. I'm pretty close to completing the main storyline, but that one I've really enjoyed, and there is so much that you can just sink your time into. There are quite a lot of bugs. I think that they worked out a decent amount of them. Like, it's been out long enough now, but when we first started playing that one, there were some bugs that just kind of like made it frustrating at times. But now, the last few times I've hopped on to play it, I've really enjoyed it. This last one here. This is Portal 2 for the Xbox 360. If I had to create a list of my top favorite games, and let's say series or one, Assassin's Creed is up there, but Portal is such an amazing game, and Portal 2 has multiplayer, and this was the first game that my husband and I ever played together, and I'm pretty sure that this was our roommates, and then we loved it so much that he gave it to us. But we just had such an amazing time. The puzzles, it's basically a puzzle game, and you have these portals that you can kind of walk through, and they transport you to different places, and you can set up multiple portals, and it was just such a phenomenal experience playing this for the first time, and the storyline is just great. The Portal universe is just really funny, and the robots and the characters that they have, they just did a really great job building the world and building the script. the puzzles are so interesting and really fun to figure out. I think that this would be a really fun one to try and play again at some point, but this, I mean, really, really phenomenal multiplayer experience. Just really great. And I remember my husband's grandmother was visiting us when we were back in college, and she came and was hanging out at our house for a little bit when we had some downtime, and my husband convinced her to try playing Portal 2, and it was so funny to watch, because she hasn't really had much experience playing video games, and so she kept accidentally walking her robot like right off the bridge, and it was really funny, and we laugh about that all the time with her, just like her trying to figure out how to use a controller and my husband having to tell her just push the joystick straight, like stop pushing the joystick in these directions. But this one is just a really, really fun game. Definitely recommend if you haven't played it. I assume that they probably have a remastered version for Xbox One, but I don't know if this one is backwards compatible or not. This one's got some kind of nice plastic sounds. So that is all of the physical games that I have to show you today. Like I said, those aren't all of the games that we have. Those are just some of the ones that I've played and kind of wanted to show you and ramble about a little bit. And I also mentioned that we do still have a subscription to Gamepass, and most of the games that I've been playing recently have been on Gamepass. Gamepass is a really great opportunity to play and try games that we probably wouldn't buy, especially smaller, like indie games. And there have just been some really amazing games. Some of my favorites that I've played in the last few years have come from Game Pass, and one of the ones that I played, I think last year, or like this last year, was Lost in Random. That was a really, really great game, and really interesting play style and fighting style. And I mentioned Starfield a little bit, but I've also played off and on Astroneer. It's kind of like Minecraft, I think. I haven't ever really played Minecraft very much, but I think that it's similar to Minecraft in kind of the style of like what you're doing. Maybe it's not as creative and being able to build things up as much, but you're kind of running around different worlds and trying to collect enough materials and build up your bases so that you can eventually fly back home. So that one's really fun. I like to play that one just as kind of like a random type of game. I don't really have to remember too much about the storyline. Another really fun one from Game Pass that I have played recently was Jusant, I think is what it's called, Jusant. And you are this character that is having to climb up a large pillar, like a large rock pillar. And you're kind of learning about some of the lore of the world and what kind of happened in the history. And it's just, that one was really fun. There's a lot of climbing, like a lot of the gameplay is climbing. And so there's some kind of puzzles trying to figure out exactly how you can climb and reach certain things. But I enjoyed that one. I thought that one was really a satisfying, calm game for me to play. I hope that you enjoyed this little show and tell of some of my physical games. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.